India has a new army chief. General Manoj Pande has taken over as chief of what is now the second largest army in the world. He has lots of key challenges dealing with the frontier, both on the China front and on the Pakistan front, getting in new technology and being part of a process of restructuring the armed forces across the board.
General Manoj Pande, the new army chief, is the first Indian Army officer from the Corps of Engineers to become chief of the second largest army in the world. He takes over as chief at a time when more than 1 lakh Indian and Chinese soldiers remain forward deployed in Ladakh. With tensions along the line of actual control constantly simmering, with no real sign of China being willing to pull back to its original on-ground positions, despite more than a dozen rounds of military talks.
As far as the situation on our western borders with Pakistan specifically is concerned, the DGMO's understanding which we arrived at a year plus back, that has helped us in improving the situation on ground, and that has also helped the civilian population on either side of the line of control to live in a better fashion. Whilst on the LC itself, the infiltration has gone down and so have the violence levels. But in the hinterland, there is no indication to that effect.
The Indian Army is also watching the emerging situation in Ukraine very closely. New military tactics and new technologies, such as the extensive use of drones, have redefined the nature of warfare. India's new army chief will need to ensure that the force he leads is technologically sound.
Priority would be to ensure very high standards of operational preparedness to face the current as well as the contemporary and the future challenges across the entire spectrum of conflict. Secondly, in terms of capability development and force modernization, my effort would be to leverage new technologies through the process of indigenization and Atmanirbharta.
General Pande takes over at a time when India's armed forces are in the midst of a profound structural transition, with theatre commands and greater jointmanship being a mantra to integrate operations of the Army, Air Force and Navy. This means having to rethink how the Army operated for decades.
I have known the other two service chiefs very well, and I think it is a good beginning and good indication of synergy and cooperation and jointmanship among the three services. And I want to assure you that all three of us will work together and take things forward in the cause of national security and defense.
General Pande was commissioned in December 1982 and has served for 39 years, during which he held several sensitive positions at various levels. All the previous assumptions that most men who become the army chief are from infantry or from armored corps, that is not true. The last thing that General Pande in fact stated was about the geopolitical situation, in which he said the geopolitical situation is changing rapidly and that poses a challenge for a country like India especially, and the armed forces, be it the Army, Air Force or Navy, all of the armed forces will work together to in fact take these challenges head on and protect the integrity and sovereignty of our country. With camera person Mohammed Mursalina Makshed, NDTV.